Hello, love. Welcome to the ChiLOVe radio show, Pop Radio Worldwide, iHeartRadio, and Spotify Premium. Hosted by yours truly, Melanie Hogan. The ChiLOVe radio show is sponsored by ChiLOVe LLC. Before we begin, let's take 3 deep breaths. Inhale, hold for 3 seconds, and exhale. We'll do this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now today we'll have an update on COVID-19 as well as discuss therapy related to PTSD. Currently, we have 1,953 new cases. We have 188,424 total cases. We're at 7,594 deaths. Our positivity rate so far is 4%. Let's revisit the symptoms of COVID. Fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headache, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, diarrhea, trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion, the inability to wake or stay awake, bluish lips or face. These symptoms can occur between 2 and 14 days after exposure. The age of cases ranges from younger than 1 to older than 100 years old. There are currently 365 patients in the ICU and 125 patients on ventilators. Rates of the coronavirus cases for people in their 20s are now about 2.5 times higher than they were at the end of March. This age group has the highest rates of COVID-19. We've been discussing the uptick in the rates for the ages between 18 and 29. This age group has not been adhering to the guidelines overall. We're not seeing masks. They're not properly sanitizing. There's definitely not any social distancing being practiced. New health guidance has issued for bars, fitness clubs, personal care businesses, and other gathering places. So because there has been a refusal to follow the guidelines, to wear the mask, sanitize, social distance, now we're starting to see more restrictions. Bars, taverns, and breweries and other establishments that serve alcohol for on-site consumption without a retail food license are being asked to serve customers outdoors only. So they're trying to still give some leeway to live your life and to still socialize and to still enjoy the summer. But a lot of it is starting to be moved back outside. Now, the restaurants that serve alcohol, they need to continue to abide by ongoing health guidance and existing regulations. The maximum party size and table occupancy at restaurants, bars, taverns, and breweries should be reduced to 6 people, whether that is indoor or outdoor. The indoor fitness class size should be reduced to a maximum of 10 people. Personal service businesses should discontinue services. For example, if you like to go and get a shave, or you want to go to a spa and get a facial, anything that requires the removal of face coverings is now prohibited. Residential property managers are being asked to limit guest entry to 6 people per unit to avoid indoor gatherings and parties. Businesses and workplaces should institute remote work for high-risk individuals and continue telework for as many workers as possible. Retail establishments should maintain no more than 50% capacity. Preckwinkle said that we need to get the word out and encourage young people to be patient. That's usually an issue with the youth. The youth are very impatient overall. We all want this whole COVID debacle to just disappear and we be able to roam freely like we once did, but circumstances have changed. So the best bet is just to better be safe than sorry and just adhere to the guidelines as we try to just ride this wave out while trying to maintain the numbers and minimize the numbers of positive COVID cases. She said that physical distancing and wearing a mask is the minimum that we need to do to protect ourselves, our family, and our friends. As they said before, you may not even be exhibiting symptoms, but still are carrying around the virus. You could be a host for the virus. And although you yourself are not getting sick, you could be sickening your family members and your friends, the people that you say that you love. So out of love, let's try to be more considerate. Now, meanwhile, Trump was asked about the rise in cases of corona and how these numbers are constantly going up. And Trump insists that the coronavirus pandemic is under control in the U.S. He states they are dying. That's true, and it is what it is. But that doesn't mean that we aren't doing everything we can. It's under control as much as you can control it. He also states that because more tests are being done, that it is logical that you will have more positive cases. Now, the U.S. has the highest recorded totals for any country. We have a total of 4.71 million cases confirmed in the U.S. and 155,478 deaths. Corona is continuing to impact traveling. Puerto Rico is now on Chicago's quarantine list. Now, if you don't know about Chicago's quarantine list, it is a list of states that have high positive coronavirus cases. And they're asking that if you do travel to these places, upon returning, that you self-quarantine for 14 days. Last week, Wisconsin, Missouri, North Dakota, and Nebraska were added to the list, bringing a total of 22. States are added to the list if they have a case rate greater than 15 new COVID-19 cases per 100,000 resident population per day over a 7-day rolling average. Now, if they fall below the threshold, they could be removed from the quarantine list. Iowa, Kansas, and Utah have dropped below threshold, so that's good. If you're thinking about traveling and not sure which states are on the quarantine list, they are as follows: Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, Nevada, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wisconsin. Pritzker announces a new $5 million public awareness campaign on Monday with the tagline, It only works if you wear it. To encourage residents to wear face coverings, the initiative compares masks to seat belts in cars, bicycle helmets, life jackets, etc. This is a team event, people. There is no I in team. No one is exempt from catching the coronavirus. While we're trying to protect ourselves, we should be trying to help to protect each other. We here at the ChiLOVe Radio Show, Pop Radio Worldwide, iHeartRadio, and Spotify Premium take the COVID seriously. We also understand the effects that it can have on your mental health, which is why we're talking about PTSD and the therapy that you can utilize if you have any symptoms of PTSD or have received a diagnosis from it. As we stated in the last episode of the ChiLOVe Radio Show, PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event, either experiencing it or witnessing it, or learning about it. So we were talking about the treatment and the different types of therapies that people can implement into their lives. We have the cognitive processing therapy, which is a 12-week course of treatment with weekly sessions of 60 to 90 minutes. Now, first, you will talk about the traumatic event with your therapist and how your thoughts related to it have affected your life. Then you'll write in detail about what happened. This process helps you examine how you think about your trauma and figure out new ways to live with it, which are coping skills. For example, you may be blaming yourself for something. Your therapist will help you take into account all the things that were beyond your control so you can start to move forward, understanding and accepting that deep down it wasn't your fault despite things you did or didn't do. It's very common for the victim of trauma to feel some type of guilt or shame or even place blame on themselves because they feel like, well, if I wasn't in that situation, this would not have occurred. If I didn't send the child over there, this would not have occurred. If I didn't go against my right mind, this would not have occurred. You feel helpless. A lot of times the people who are around you, your loved ones, they may develop some form of PTSD, and they may be feeling that guilt of not being able to help to keep you safe, even though they had no knowledge that it was even happening. But some type of way, you can start to just blame yourself for the things that occurred. And just because it happened to you or happened to your loved one does not mean that it was at all your fault. It is the fault of the person or people who exhibited the behavior, who infringed on your civil liberties to allow you to live your life in a peaceful way. We have prolonged exposure therapy. That type of therapy is good if you've been avoiding things that remind you of the traumatic event. Prolonged exposure therapy will help you confront them. It involves 8 to 15 sessions of therapy, which are usually 90 minutes each. Therapists will teach you breathing techniques, like when we first began on the show. We took 3 deep breaths. You inhale, you fill your tummy up with air, then you exhale, and your tummy should fall back in. Deep breathing. And a deep breathing is to ease your anxiety when you think about what happened. Later, you'll make a list of the things that you've been avoiding and learn how to face them one by one. In another session, you'll recount the traumatic experience to your therapist, then go home and listen to a recording of yourself. More than likely, your therapist will assign you homework activities that can help you ease your symptoms over time. Now, if you notice the things that I am describing, you can actually start to implement yourself. And speak out loud. If you don't have that therapist right there in front of you for you to talk to, record yourself as if you're talking to the therapist. Then write down in detail what had happened. Now, as far as determining what works best for you, more than likely you'll have to outsource additional information so that you can learn to develop coping skills that will help you heal. And as I said, therapy is only once a week. So the other 6 days of the week, you have to empower yourself to apply the knowledge that you are learning. It is wise to even go beyond what the therapist is saying to start to tap into yourself to determine what helps you feel good. Where's your happy place mentally, or even a physical spot? A physical spot is good for a happy place, but ideally to have a happy place within your mind is best, because no matter where you are, if you have a happy place in your mind, you can always tune in without having to, especially with the restrictions that's going on. You know, for example, the beach at night is one of my happy places. That is currently gated. The beach is gated. So you can go and walk along the lakefront trail, but you can't actually get over there to the sand and to the water and to the rocks. So because you can't physically go over there, now I can just, based off memory, recall the energy of the environment at the beach, recall the sound of the water and the waves hitting the rocks, recall the softness of the sand under my feet. Nobody can take that mental happy place away from you. We also have eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. With EMDR, you might not have to tell your therapist about your experience. So they do have methods to where you may not even have to discuss it. Instead, you'll concentrate on it mentally while you watch or listen to something that the therapist is doing. For example, moving a hand, flashing a light, making a sound. The goal with this type of reprocessing is to be able to think about something positive while you remember your trauma. They said it takes about 3 months of weekly sessions. So again, you know, when you go through something traumatic, you can't believe that this happened, even though you're even headed toward coping skills and trying to heal from it. The fact that you just wish that you could just erase this from your life, and the anxiety behind that, the frustration behind not even being able to just eliminate it from your life, can just cause more anxiety and more depression. So accepting what is very important. It's good for actually helping you to heal. You don't like it, but you accept that this is what happened. So then you have a discussion with yourself or with your therapist to say, now, what can I do to make sure that this does not happen again? What can I do to make sure that this incident does not relinquish me of my powers and my ability to function and be a positive aspect of society? Now, we also have the stress training. Stress inoculation training is a type of CBT. It can be done by yourself or in a group. You won't have to go into detail about what happened. So this is another form of therapy where you do not have to go into detail about what happened. The focus is more on changing how you deal with the stress from the event. You may learn massage and breathing techniques and other ways to stop negative thoughts by relaxing your mind and body. After about 3 months, you should have skills to release from your life. Medication. The brains of people with PTSD process threats differently because the balance of chemicals called neurotransmitters is out of whack. This is something that is very important to remember. PTSD is a mental health condition, which means that it affects the brain and the functioning of the brain. And especially loved ones and friends who do not understand what is going on and cannot understand why the person just can't let it go. Their neurotransmitters are out of whack. Your brain is hurt. But there are ways to heal your brain, actually. Something as simple as YouTube, doing a search on YouTube for brain healing meditation. Those vibrations and frequencies can help to heal those neurotransmitters that are out of whack. Now, because they are out of whack, they have an easily triggered fight or flight response, which is what makes you jumpy and or on edge. We usually hear about the fight or flight response, but there is another F, which is freeze. Sometimes the event scares you so bad that you cannot respond and you can do nothing but freeze. A lot of times people disassociate and detach themselves mentally when the violation is going on, like they tune out. So we have quite a few people who are easily triggered, who are instantly on the offensive, who have developed the mentality of, I'm going to get you before you get me. Because whatever affected them now has them to at the point where they're going to protect themselves against any and everybody, even if it isn't a real threat. Medications can help you to constantly try to shut down that could be leading to feeling emotionally cold and removed. So that numb feeling, medications can help with that. Now, I warn you to be mindful of the side effects that may occur while you are taking certain medications. Everything does not work for everybody. They keep a lot of data on the effects of the medications with the patients, and what works for a majority is usually what they will administer. Sometimes they will implement medications that are not specifically for PTSD, like antidepressants. Sometimes antidepressants, because depression and anxiety is linked to PTSD, can also help with the symptoms. Being emotionally cold, you're not able to, even on a spiritual note, tap into that religious or aspect of life that can help to guide you from within as far as certain moves that you need to make for your personal self. That emotional coldness is blocking your healing. It is okay to allow yourself to feel and to acknowledge what you're feeling and to acknowledge why you're feeling that way. It is okay to cry it out, to swing it out, to um, hit a punching bag, to engage in some type of extreme active activity that will help you to work off that stress that's building up within your body. Exercising is a good coping skill for handling the stress, because you have to do, a lot of people be so pent up. So that movement, that exercise to release that serotonin and that dopamine, those endorphins and stuff, those feel good hormones, those are good ways to help yourself cope. And as you're exercising and you're taking the medications that are prescribed for you, please do not take medications that were not prescribed for you. But the ones that are prescribed for you, the intent is to help you stop thinking about what happened and stop reacting to what happened, including having nightmares and flashbacks. So if you're engaging in other types of therapy, you're applying other types of knowledge, and it just seems as though certain memories will not go away. Speak to a few people and really discuss and determine if a form of medication will be best for you. I'm going to tell you that once you start this medication, especially with the antidepressant, you can't just immediately cut it off. You have to be weaned off by your physician, especially with antidepressants. I think the first 6 weeks or whatever, it kind of makes you, it has the ability to make you more suicidal. It's like it takes you up and then it starts to mellow you out and balance you out. So family members and those who are close to you, it'd be wise for you to talk to them and let them know what new regimen you are implicating and the side effects of it. So if you do start to act a little erratic, they will understand that your body is balancing to the medicine. But people who have consistently taken it and applying therapy with their therapist as well as individually, you know, there is an upside to this. There is a certain normalcy that you can go back. There is a certain power that you can take back within your own life, despite what somebody else has done to you. The medications can help you have a more positive outlook on life and feel more normal again, like I was saying. Now, you should always ask your doctor about the several types of drugs that affect the chemistry in your brain related to fear and anxiety. When you're in the presence of your physician, don't be afraid to speak up. They don't know it all. You know what is going on with you. It is good to know about any family history related to mental health, anxiety, and depression so that you can inform your physician about that. It is good to divulge that if it has been, you may be in there for one specific trauma, but as you start to realize that it's actually multiple events of trauma that have led you to this point, please be forthcoming so that these professionals can try to implement the best type of therapy for you so that you can try to get back to a normalized life. To allow something or someone to impact your life to the point where you're no longer comfortable being yourself is handing over a lot of power to them people. Meanwhile, they are continuing to live their life and do what it is that they want to do and have their happy moments. You are being tortured on a daily basis. It is an arduous process. It's very painful, the growing pains connected to the healing behind the trauma, but the healing can be done. If the negative aspect can manifest, so can the positive. Nobody in life, regardless of the economic status or the color, is exempt from, having some type of being impacted by some type of trauma. And it is about overcoming. Are you going to continue to allow this situation to just rule your life? To where the things that you know that you love, you are no longer engaging in because somebody who was vibrating low chose to transfer their energy onto you, chose to make you a part of their own misery. Because perhaps it happened to them, so they just transferred it over to you. Despite the circumstances, despite what led us to that point, we have to take our power back. We have to heal. We have to recondition. We have to build up consistency. We have to build up discipline within ourselves to continuously apply the knowledge. We have to become more aware. But more importantly, empowerment was one of the terms that really stick out when it comes to battling trauma. Taking your power back. Making your voice heard. Letting your actions show that you are not going to allow this to defeat you in life. Especially if you're dealing with something that happened as a child and you're now 40, going to be 50 years old. At a certain age, people do go through a midlife crisis. And during that point of life, they end up having to face demons that they tried to suppress years before. It's like everything that was buried starts to come to the surface. And a lot of people have like really nasty mental breaks. It's really important to start to deal with whatever issues you have before it deals with you. There are a lot of people in nursing homes right now who have these mental illnesses. They could not come back from the break. They were not able to maintain normalcy after the nervous breakdown. So now they had to leave their own personal space to become roommates with a stranger at a nursing home. The room is too small for them to bring all of their belongings. They have to adapt to a new way of life, to nurses and social workers and physicians coming in just to make sure that they are doing basics like washing up and brushing their teeth and doing their hair and getting some air and the basics. This is serious. Mental health should not be taken lightly. There are resources that you can definitely call. There are people that you can definitely reach out to. Some of the resources, if you have issues with COVID, questions about COVID, please call 1-800-889-3931. If you are experiencing high levels of stress, anxiety, or depression, text 741-741. We here at the ChiLOVe Radio Show, Pop Radio Worldwide, iHeartRadio, care about you. I don't have to know you to care about you. All energy transfers. All energy transfers. We are all one in humanity. People who are empathic can actually feel the energy from somebody else, especially if they're hurting or tortured inside. So we love you here. If don't nobody else love you, we at the ChiLOVe Radio Show, Pop Radio Worldwide, iHeartRadio, and Spotify Premium, we love you. And we're wishing you the best. Until next time, love.